Hey everyone, welcome to Awakening Warriors Podcast, episode 4. Take it away with our topic.
So today we're talking about harnessing focus to create larger things in life. For example, all my particular businesses demand me to be there in order to create income. And so I want to create personally a business that I can scale to a larger degree, and in the end doesn't require me to be there all the time to create funds. So and in the process you have to be able to overcome a lot of shit, right? Because at the end of the day, we get stuck in life because of our limitations, and whether those are realistic limitations, like I don't have that particular skill, or whether they're limitations that we put on ourselves through basically limited thinking, or even limited or allowing other people to put limits on us. So which kind of in the end returns back to yourself. So the reason this actually came up was because the other day you were showing me some quotes that you put out of the thing, because in order to build the podcast and get exposure, you have to create content. Yeah.
And so I pulled some quotes out from our first episode.
Yeah. And just so we're clear, I don't even like listening to myself talk after we do this shit. I haven't listened to one. I don't want to. It doesn't mean I won't, because realistically that's where a lot of growth comes from, is doing that uncomfortable shit. It just makes me ugh. It's not sick to my stomach, but it's just such an uncomfortable thing listening to myself talk. And so she pulled those quotes off there, and I was like, what the fuck, dude? I don't know, it just didn't feel right when I looked at it, and I'm like, that is not good. And I thought about making you redo it. It crossed my mind. I'm like, I don't like that. And at the end of the day, I'm like, she put the time and the effort into doing this. I'm like, who the fuck am I to tell her to redo her work? I'm like, I'm not gonna say shit. So I didn't. And later out the day, I told her my uncomfortableness in regards to seeing my quote put on this fucking computer and meme or whatever you want to call it. And so I was like, dude, we should fucking talk about this, because this is something that I need to overcome myself. And a lot of other people, I'm sure, have to deal with the same fucking situation.
Well, even just looking, obviously, again, the podcast is the newest thing in our life, but I'm sure there are people out there that think oh, that'd be really cool, but again, just putting yourself in this uncomfortable situation and taking more of the spotlight, so to say.
It's a vulnerable position.
For sure. Because
don't get me wrong, I'm not really a downer on people's shit. If I don't like it or whatever else, I'm not gonna comment on it. But some people, I feel try too hard, and hopefully I'm not fucking trying too hard at the end of the day, because I'm looking at other people's shit. I'm like, dude, you're trying way too fucking hard. And I'm trying not to try hard. I'm just trying to be consistent and authentic. And but good for those people for being vulnerable enough to do that. So nothing taken away from those people that I fucking see on Facebook or social media or whatever, because they're doing more than me in a lot of aspects, because they're putting themselves in a more of a vulnerable spot. So who the fuck am I to judge? More. Yeah, exactly. Who am I to judge their content? You know what I mean?
For sure.
Even though sometimes I feel it's unauthentic, kind of, but. So that's what, at the end of the day, I looked at that post and I'm like, who the fuck am I? Why am I posting this? And this is, and this goes to a lot of different points. So one of the reasons we're doing this is because of basically expansion of like society, introducing society into different concepts and ideas, and
well, these are
just trying to help society,
right, because these are things that we've been exposed to in our life and have noticed a shift and a change in a positive direction. So I think that's where like that piece comes from, is like we just wanted to be able to provide that as well for other people.
We're just trying to offer something different for people to try at the end of the day, or apply to their life if it works, right? And so that's one reason that we're doing it. Another reason I'm doing it is because this stretches us, particularly myself. Because I get on this and I'm like, who the fuck am I to do this? It's almost like a imposter syndrome, or like I haven't accomplished a whole lot, and so on and so forth. So that's another reason I'm doing it, to basically just learn to be vulnerable and to be able to fucking overcome my weaknesses, I guess you could say, overcome my limitations. Because I don't want to fucking stay at the same spot. Like, in order to get to a different spot, you have to leave where you're at. And in order to leave where you're at, you have to do new shit. So this is one of the things that I'm doing. And criticism or not of society, that people listen to this stuff, it doesn't really matter. And that's one of the reasons why, like, I feel like that's one of the smaller reasons that I'm like throwing that out there right now. Because if I criticize myself, because I know somebody's got to be out there fucking criticizing. Like, who the fuck is this jackass, talking about this stuff and whatever else, And I'm already thinking I'm already thinking that shit. So, we're on the same fucking page right now at the end of the day. So yeah, this just stretches the shit out of me. And so that's where we're at. So I don't know if you got something to contribute to that or what.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at the podcast as an example, and I think to kind of bring it back to like our focus, your focus specifically, but again, you asked me if I wanted to be part of the podcast, and I said yes. So our focus at that point was on growth, and this is a step in our growth, and so this is just like a modality maybe that we're using to propel us forward, and there's a lot of things that come with it.
Like in contributing to society, because I also, like, that was a huge part for me. Like, I want to offer people some sort of, like, I don't know, information or something that offer them an experience that they can utilize to better their lives, like, because everybody's like, they're in this confined box where they fucking live at this point, and I just like, dude, there's a better way. And what other, like, I can tell them different whatever. Yeah,
well, it works for us, and that's what I'm saying though, but this is like an opportunity to present that information better for us. Sure.
Yeah, well, if they gave it an opportunity, I think it'd be better for everybody, but I understand what you're saying 100%. There's no good or bad, there just is. So
but, and I think because we're in podcasts as far as like listening to other people's podcasts. So we've had the experience of listening to other people and their experiences and their thoughts on stuff, and been able to like apply that in our life. We're like, oh hey, it like creates good conversation in our household because I heard this thing on this podcast. And so that, I think for me too, was like, well, this has been like a method, a modality, whatever. I can't think of the right word that I'm actually trying to think of for us that we've used to grow. And so if we can provide that for somebody else, and I think too, just looking at like the people that we have connections with, like, it starts small, right? We talk to our circle, we talk to our friends, then they talk to their friends, and like, So I think just getting that out there,
yeah. So at the end of the day, it was just like, fuck, I should talk about this. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this particular podcast, and that was yesterday. And here we are. So I've exposed myself for the fucking shit that most people are probably already thinking. Like, in my head, people are thinking that, like, and that's probably scares a lot of people off from starting anything new. Like, oh man, like, what the fuck do I know, or whatever else.
Or what are people gonna think of me? And that's still something that I've been like open with even just with the posts. Like part of what's scary for me is not this and not having this conversation. It's the posting of it, because then my mind and ego tends to think of, well, I'm going to get judgment. I'm going to get, what are people going to think of me? Like, and this has been really helpful, I think, so far, and just like helping me realize, like, who cares what other people think of me? Like, this is something that we want to do and that we think is important, and so we're going to do it. Like,
yeah, and you and I deal with criticism two extremely different ways. I almost welcome it. I enjoy it. Like, if someone were to criticize me right now off the podcast, like, I'd like take it into consideration. I'd be like, okay, let me pick this apart and see what they say, and then I want to see if I can see it in myself. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I think I've definitely become more open to it in general, but I think it's also funny that, because we had started this conversation yesterday, and I'd asked him, like, was that an ego thing though, like having to point out your own shit before anybody can say anything to you? And so that's just interesting too, because it's quote unquote safe, right, for ego to like, well, I'm going to point this out about myself first, so that
I prefer to people know where I'm at before they tell me.
Well, and that, I think that came up in conversation yesterday too, especially with like being genuine, and that's like our goal is to be real and raw. And so you're like, this is what I'm feeling, so I might as well just share it. Like, we're not, you know, king and queen tough shit, whatever. Like we do have those insecurities.
But we will be eventually. So fuck off. Like, yeah, this is where I'm starting now, but I'm not going to be in the same place a year from now. Like, when I say stuff, I probably will attach more meaning to it, you know, once I feel validated. Or maybe not, because, like, Ed Milet, like, you know, when we were at the fucking, that conference, he talked, you know, one of the people, like, asked him about imposter syndrome, and he said, yeah, I have fucking imposter syndrome, and he's a multi-million-dollar, like, hundreds of millions. Yeah, I don't know, a couple $100 million. He has his own private jet and shit, and he still feels like he has imposter syndrome. But I feel like I'll be able to stand on more of a solid foundation once I've basically proven myself. To show people what I have done fucking works. And like she said, you know, maybe it won't work for you, but I fucking try it at least, you know, like a true college, I wouldn't say college try, because that's fucking stupid. A true, real hard ethic try.
100% effort.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, and that's where I'm at. So I was like, fuck, dude, if I just expose myself, because this is what this fucking podcast is about, like watching our journey and trying to inspire others to take their own journey, you know? So, like, fucking recording this shit on my phone and her trying to figure this shit out, like, you guys are, like, with it right now and whatever else. They talked about, like, a fucking, what's that, a perfect plan not utilized, some shit like that is better than a unperfect plan utilized is better than a non-perfect plan, or a perfect plan unutilized.
Yes.
So, you know, like, we haven't figured this shit out yet, but we're just learning it on the way. And maybe we'll have a bunch of fuck-ups. I'm sure we will, but at the end of the day, like, whatever, that's part of the process. You know, Sean Allen just did a fucking post about that. Literally about learning.
Oh, yeah, that learning can be really humbling.
Yeah, learning can be really humbling.
Being a beginner or, like, learning is really humbling, because it puts you, like, down there, you know? Like, you're figuring it all out. Yeah,
exactly. Yep. So, you know, and that's one of the things we're doing is we're learning how to do this fucking podcast, and it is what it is. And a lot of people won't even probably listen to it just literally because I swear. And I'm sure that's 100% accurate. But at the end of the day, I don't really care, and you're probably not my target audience anyways then. So I don't really care. Well,
I think it comes back to, like, the authenticity piece. Like, that is just how you communicate. Like, so for you to just shut that off so that we can post a video, that defeats the whole purpose of...
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, it's just one of those things that we have to work through ourselves and, you know, the technology, whatever else. Because we're learning quite a bit about ourselves. Like, you know, just seeing that post, I was like, I'm not like at all. I'm like,
which is so interesting to me too, because I also think
arrogant.
Yeah, like self-esteem, self-confidence wise, like, you're up there, you know, and so...
Yeah, but I feel confident in shit that I can back the fuck up, you know, like, I don't like to... Like, unless I can back it up, I don't want to whatever. And I guess, I mean... what was the quote? The quote was something about, I just do everything to the fucking extreme, which I do. So, I mean, that is true.
Well, and that's what was interesting to me too, because I was like, I didn't even pull up, like, the first quote that I picked for you was that one, because I was like, this is totally 100%, like, how you roll.
Yeah. But I've never liked to be the center of attention either, so that's another thing. Like, I always like to fly under the radar. So
let's do a podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, fuck. Oh, stupid, huh?
No.
Yeah, I always just like flying under the radar because it's just a lot calmer down there, you know, like, fuck, just no one notices you, whatever else. And there is some necessity to both sides of the story, because, you know, if you just, you know, fly under the radar, make moves, and then, you know, eventually, like, you won't get rocks thrown at you, you know, as time progresses. So, yeah. So, yeah, you want to go ahead?
Well, I mean, as far as, like, that piece goes,
yeah,
that's where I wrapped up as far as, like, the podcast and where we're at and the vulnerability of it. And
yeah, so, long story short, if you want to fucking do bigger things and have, like, bigger ideas, you're going to have to overall expose yourself to criticism, expose yourself to new things, expose yourself in pretty much every way that you can possibly think of.
I think the word that comes to me is that you're going to have to expose yourself to more.
Yeah.
Because it comes down again, like, if you're not changing anything in your life isn't changing.
Yeah.
So if you want to build bigger, like you mentioned the business, if you want to
have a better fucking relationship with your spouse or your kids or whatever else, you're going to have to do shit that is extremely uncomfortable, you know? Oh, what was the thing? So, one of the things that we did that I found very uncomfortable, that stretched a lot of people, was when we were at that the Lions Not Sheep conference, and we had to stare into other people's eyes. Like, that was, for my partner, I don't even know the gentleman's name, nice dude, but we had to stand eye to eye, hands on shoulders, and look into each other's eyes. And for me, it was no problem at all, which I don't know what that means necessarily, but you could tell he was struggling. Like, he was tearing up. He was looking away. What?
I was just going to say that tearing up doesn't necessarily mean he struggled, but...
Well, he had something. He had something emotionally going on with him, you know, at the time, and
I know you mentioned too, like, he had a hard time keeping the contact. Like, you could tell that was uncomfortable for him. Yeah. Yep.
So, you know, one of the things which we haven't done, we honestly should do it, like, stare into each other's eyes. But it was for like 2 minutes straight, right? Like, you can't alter your eye contact. Like, it's a fucking challenge, 100%. Like, and you can do it to yourself in the mirror and shit. And that's a challenge to a degree, I guess. I mean, it just depends on how mentally sound you are and connected you are. Because a lot of people can't look themselves in the eyes too, because they know they're fucking up. They know they're failing, being fucking fat or being broke, you know, or having a shitty marriage and shit like that. Like, you shouldn't be able to look yourself in the eye then. Like, at the end of the day, in my personal opinion, like, there's a reason for that, because you're letting yourself down. And, you know, if you're letting yourself down every day, you're not going to be able to build big shit. You're just going to fucking go through bare minimum, because you're putting in bare minimum effort, you know? I mean, it's not that hard not to be fat, let's be honest. I'm not, you know, and my dad's fucking obese. I got no problem with fat people in general, but I'm just telling you for a 100% fact, it is not a challenge to stay relatively, I'll say, so use loose terms, in shape.
Well, I think when it comes down to anything,
100%.
The relationship, your body, whatever, your health, that's something, it's simple, but it's not easy. There are simple decisions to make. Huh?
It's so easy. Now,
if it's easy, everyone would do it.
If it was
right?
Now, if you introduce trauma and stuff and make excuses, then sure, it's not easy. But
No, if it were easy, everyone would do it. That's why I think it comes down to the simple thing. It's super simple. It's a choice. And that's what I was going to say, too. When you're, like, the not being able to look yourself in the eye in the mirror thing, like, yes, you may, like, have let yourself down all the time in the past, but, like, today's a new day, y'all.
If your body's not considered easy, in my opinion, then you got fucking problems. Because the body, you literally, the only thing that you will ever for sure have while you're on this, it could really be relationships, cars, whatever else, you come here with day one with this, the meat suit, the fucking body. And it's literally easy as shit. Like calorie in, calorie out. Relationships, on the other hand, and business and everything else, those are not easy, let alone simple, because they have so many more outside circumstances. This is the difference.
Us as human beings, we are very complex from the get-go, before we even come out of the womb, and this is going to probably be a whole nother topic, so we can just keep it real small, but like looking at, like, you are born with this body, and so it's easy to keep it relatively in shape, you say. But we're also, as children, we don't make our own food choices. We don't feed ourselves. We don't pick, like, we are programmed and taught so much of that by the time we are able to make our own decisions, it's not easy anymore. Like, yeah. But that also comes down to, like, you and I have had conversations, and we decide
self-education and so on.
But you don't know what you don't know. And so we are also choosing to be aware individuals, and again, part of the reason for the podcast, but like we have talked that if we have kids, like those things will be instilled, like healthy eating and exercise and quiet, like as far as like rest.
No public schooling.
That as well. But again, I don't know. I'm still going to stick with not easy, but we can agree to disagree on that.
I understand where you're coming from. To a degree, it's challenging if you were programmed in a certain way. But like my fucking mom's overweight, my dad's overweight. You know, we can fucking sit here and split hairs all day long.
I just think we've talked about this. We've talked about this too. Words are important, and so people just think, oh, it's so like, I don't know.
We can just say it's simple. It's fucking simple.
That's what I said.
Whatever.
Get go.
Yeah, well,
and I think part of that comes from like our network marketing past, which we'll get into that I'm sure someday too. But
yeah. So yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's just like, long story short, where we came off from this, it was you fucking basically get what you put in, you know, type of deal. So
and being able to look at yourself and like be real with yourself of like, where is my effort? Where do I need to start focusing more of my effort on?
Yeah. Where
in my life doesn't feel great or jive well? Like I'm gonna now put some more effort and focus into those areas.
Yeah, and it all starts with yourself. Like, not everybody wants to build big shit. So, you know, I mean, this particular episode is like, the foundationally ideal is to be able to build bigger, larger things. You have to overcome the fucking, you know, challenges that you currently have, which will also be a embetterment to your life, which means it'll be an embetterment to your family, which means it'll be an embetterment to society. It all starts with you. 100% fucking you. If, you know, it does drinking this beer help me or hurt me? Well, that's a pretty fucking obvious thing. It's going to hurt me. So, is it really intelligent to drink every fucking day? No, not at all. Because you're hurting society every day with that choice. You know, I'm not saying that I never fucking drink. I 100% do. But there's a time and a place, and it's very like, okay, get it out of my system, and then I'm fucking moving on for the day, for the day.
Usually for like weeks.
Yeah, for like a month or whatever it is.
But I also want to say too, because I think sometimes the way that we communicate these things can come across as judgy, and like,
I don't give a shit what you do. I got my own fucking problems.
And I think the question comes back to like, is this thing, like put in whatever, fill in the blank, in alignment with the goals that I have? Is this thing getting me further down the path to what I want? And if the answer is yes or no, then.
But even if it's not, so you can go and broaden that, because a lot of people self-sabotage themselves.
We all do.
Oh yeah, yes, okay. We all self-sabotage ourselves. So sometimes, like maybe you're not the best motivation for yourself, or your goal or whatever else. Maybe it's your children or the society or whatever, anything. So don't just focus on that. But every fucking choice we make is either going to bring us a step forward or a step back.
Right. Like consequences to our actions.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And a lot of people don't think about those things, So, and again, go ahead.
I want to just come back to like the building bigger things, because for you, like you had already mentioned, like not everybody wants to do that, and that's okay. But for like us and for you, like a bigger, different house is like in the works, and I would like a bigger, better car at some point. And so for us, like that's the driving factor. But as you'd mentioned before, like also the fact that like bigger, better relationships. We've talked about this a little bit, but again, just like where it doesn't have to be material things, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
You can build bigger, and it can mean whatever that means for you.
Yeah, you can build bigger and still have the same fucking house.
Right.
You just build bigger in your relationships, because there's levels to this fucking game, and I'm on level 2 and other people are on level 5, so I'm watching other people on level 5 and able to instill habits and ideas and concepts and whatever else that they have to offer in order for me to get to level 5. So, and that's where I'm at personally, and I'll never be, well, I shouldn't say I'll never be. At this point in my life, I will never be satisfied with where I'm at, ever. And I'm trying to, and that's a social construct, I guess, maybe. It was instilled to me as a child to a degree. Yeah. But I think either way I would have had that particular thing, that particular idea. Like, I'm never satisfied with anything. Anything can be better. Like, if I fucking, go on this roller coaster, it could have been better. Like, there's never a fucking, well, I shouldn't say there's never, because there's, like, some things that are like, damn, that was fucking legit, But
it takes a lot for you to feel that way about the thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think you will also say that that comes with cons, for sure. Like,
you're not saying
that that's, like,
sucks.
Great. Yeah.
Well, I wish I was more easily pleased and whatever else. Like, I'm like, well, that fucking blows.
Again, this might be, like, a whole other topic, but just coming, like, to being... It's like that fine line, finding balance of, like, being content with your life, but still striving. And so, Ed Milet, again, talks about being... blissfully dissatisfied.
Yeah.
So like in this moment,
man.
Yeah, he's really good. If you haven't looked him up before, do so.
Yeah.
But he talks about that. Like he's always somebody kind of like you who's striving for more money, and when money, I think for us and in our conversations comes up a lot, but money is just a tool. It is a neutral tool that you can use, that has been used for good and for evil. So when we talk about money, people can, try to put aside your like past beliefs and judgments about it and just think about it as like this neutral tool that can be used. Good people do lots of good things with money. Anyway, but so he is striving for that next thing or the goal or whatever, but he's also super blissful in this moment and what he does have.
So one, he goes in to say that he wants more peace, more happiness, better relationships, and so on and so forth. Because like at some degree, like money doesn't even fucking matter, right? Money doesn't matter if you have money. That's what a buddy of mine always says. So he goes into describing this, and it's on Impact Theory. Ed Milet, that's the video on YouTube. And he goes on to talk about how you have a bite of steak, like this really good steak, right? And, he's enjoying that piece, but he's, almost can't wait for the next bite. Kind of thing. Right. Like, like he's enjoying the now in this very moment, what he has, which is perfect, which is what you want to do. But he's also can't wait for the next bite because he's looking forward to whatever. So yeah, words are important.
They are.
So yeah. And a lot of people are content with what they have, and that's fine. But we're kind of exposing ourselves to the people that do want more. And
And there's a difference between content and comfortable. Like, we've also been very comfortable, and we recognize that. Like, we've been in this place where we're comfortable. Because when you're comfortable, that's when I think, when you're too comfortable, I don't know, again, a balance maybe. But when you're comfortable, you're not out looking for more. You've got
you're
your
settled.
food in the fridge, you got a warm house. Like, this is fine. And, like, good is the enemy of great, right? When you're in that space, then that's when, like, the striving goes away. But content, you can still be like, I absolutely do love my house. I do love, like, our relationship, but, like, that next
let's move
level
on
is
to the
still
next.
appealing, and I still want to work to get there. Although this is awesome and I love it. You know?
Yeah.
So I think, just
Dude,
like comfortable versus content too.
For example, I love my fucking house and how it's set up. Like, it could be better, yes. Are there different things that I want to tweak and change about it? That I still can at any time, if I just get around to it and, do it. But at this moment, like, dude, I love my fucking setup. I get up, I can let the fucking dogs out of their, out into the fence that we fenced in. The fucking dogs go out and do whatever. They come back in when we want. We have a 3-stall garage. We can pull it. She can pull it in and park. I can fucking do whatever I need to do. I am very happy with how I've set this particular place up to live. But it doesn't mean that down the road, not saying soon or whatever, but at some point down the road, I would like to have a even better setup thing. Like I said, there's levels. We're at this particular level, and I love this level. This is a great level to be at. But down the road,
We're also aware that this is a step.
Yeah, this is a stepping stone to where, we want to be down the road. Because you're either expanding or you're dying. You're either expanding or you're contracting. And we want to continue to expand. And there's going to be places in life where you expand, and you expand greatly. And there's going to be areas in your life and times in your life where you're contracting, unfortunately. That's part of life.
The ebb and flow of it all.
Yeah, exactly. So, you could look at nature, right? For instance, a flower. A flower, it blooms in the spring and it's whatever all summer long, and then winter comes and it fucking dies, and you're expanding when the flower is coming up out of the soil and, being nurtured and whatever else, and then it dies, and that's when it contracts. So, contracting is perfectly fine in life. It's actually it's a 100% necessity of life, yin and yang, right? So don't necessarily get down on yourself with the contracting things, because, for instance, we go through our habits and we expand our habits and we contract our habits. So one area we've expanded is cold baths. I'm on like day 22 or some shit that straight. Haven't missed a day in 22 days, and then so that's really good. I'm expanding in that area. Well, then you have our coffee habit. So, we get up and drink a fucking cup of coffee every morning. Every fucking morning for the past couple months. Yeah. And I recognize that I'm not going to continue that, because if you don't know, caffeine's not good for you. So when we kick coffee, we usually kick caffeine for the most part completely. And so, we're contracting in that part of our lives, in that specific habit. There's sometimes that we don't get up at fucking 4 a.m. every fucking day. Like, we've been, I don't know, I want to say 6 months personally that we've been on a fucking roll. Consistently. Consistently. That's not every day, but that's fucking, I'd say 5 to 6 days out of the week. And, typically the latest we get up is 5:30, 6 o'clock if we don't get up at 4.
That's a nice, good sleeping.
So, and I mean, sometimes it's because we're up late or whatever. But, so, as you're growing, in order to get to that next level of life, you have to be willing to also let go of what you currently have, For instance, and I'm pretty sure I just talked about that in a video that I did on my Facebook, a live and shit. You can't hang on to the monkey bar ring here if you want to go there. You have to be willing to reach over, and then you have to be willing to let go of here. Same thing with new ideas, concepts, and that's what the video is about, basically. So don't be afraid to dive deeper in this. And everything we do is going to be uncomfortable. pretty much any growth is uncomfortable. So,
And
like me looking at that thing, I'm like, oh man, I do not want to post that shit. That sucks dick. That looks fucking stupid. That doesn't give me a good feeling.
You did not tell me any of this.
So, it almost gave me anxiety. I'm like, again, who the fuck am I to be posting? Oh, because I almost feel like it's like, oh, look at me, look what I said, or some shit like that. And I'm like, you know what, dude? Like, just fucking run it. Like, what happens, and
this we talked a little about yesterday too, but the uncomfortable will wear off.
Yeah.
Like, it won't be uncomfortable forever. Like, we're on podcast number 4, and I, thinking about releasing this, granted I haven't yet, but, like, each one that I've posted has gotten easier for me to do. The first one was, like, holy crap. Like, I'm, like, literally nervous to press post right now. Like, what the heck? And then, like, did it anyway, right? But, like, I don't get that hype up anymore. It's not as uncomfortable.
Yeah, and in that introspect, introspect, is that the word?
We don't mean a Joe Rogan person look things up while we're just talking.
Real. Hey, yeah, whatever. I digress. Fuck! What are they talking about?
To that point, the uncomfortableness.
To that point, for instance, the cold baths. Like, everybody's like, well, I could never fucking do that. No, you really fucking could. Trust me. It's really not that complicated. You just take your clothes off and you fucking sit in the cold water and that's it. It's not
the point is, though,
the point
is has sucked less.
Yeah, the point is, like, it's just what you do. It's just what I do now. It's literally like, it's just, the fucking sharpness of the suckness has gone away. So, has dulled. Yeah. So in the beginning, it's really painful, and it's just like, you have a lot of resistance against it. And now, it's just like, it's just what I do. Like, it still sucks. Don't get me wrong. It's still fucking annoying, and it hurts, and whatever else. But the point is, it doesn't sting, kind of thing. Like, getting up at 4 a.m. sucks, kind of. Not for me that much, honestly, because I kind of like it. But I understand, like, sometimes it does suck for me. But
well, not for me. I think this might be different for you too. But like, the gym was one for me. Like, there was a lot of resistance at first for the gym, and like, it still took some like ebb and flow like in my life to like, I love the gym to like.
Well, motivate you, because I was like, if you get fat.
And so now the gym is something that I do. Like, there are days like, it's harder to get there, sure. There are days that, like, I'm like, oh, I don't want to go. But, now it's what I do, so that, like, point of, like, this is uncomfortable, I don't want to do it, is, like, generally pretty brief. Like, it's like, okay, it's there, and, like, moving on. But in the beginning, that, like, suck and that uncomfortable was much more prevalent and much more consistent and big, I guess. And then it just turns into what you do. Like the ice bath.
Yeah.
Podcast is getting there-ish.
Yeah. It's there for me right now, because I don't mind doing the podcast itself, but like seeing that quote thing was like,
just the stuff that comes with it.
Yeah, exactly. So, I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just what you choose to do. So, I mean, and if you're listening to the podcast, you obviously, unless you're just a friends and family that's like, oh yeah, we want to support you, you have genuine interest. We have genuine interest in getting better. So you might as well just apply it. You might as well do something with the opportunity today, because you don't even know if you're going to be alive tomorrow, theoretically. So, what?
Theoretically.
Theoretically, you don't.
Realistically, you don't. Oh yeah, and that came back. That made me think about too, because we read a lot, and I think there was a point in my life where I was reading a lot of books and not applying anything, and that can be like mindfucky too, because you like think you're doing this work by reading, and doing the things and spending the time, but then I wasn't actually embodying it, and that was like didn't feel great.
It's kind of like going through the motions too. There's these two chicks that are always at the fucking gym, and I always complain about them because they're always doing the same stupid shit, and their body hasn't changed.
Oh my god.
And maybe that's the point. Maybe they're not, for me, when I go to the gym, like, I want my body to evolve and change, right? And maybe that's not their goal, so it's none of my fucking business at their day. I'm just being a judgy prick, right? So.
But that comes down to what you're saying. Like, if you're here and you're listening to this, like, you obviously have something in you that is interested in growth,
expansion.
Change, expansion. And so...
Because there's a better way of living. Better. There is a more awesome and more enlightening, more happy, more peaceful way of living.
Yes.
And we are offering you some of the tools that we know of how to get to that point, because I can guarantee you, you are not satisfied at every aspect of your life. And so you might as well fucking do something about it instead of complaining about it, living the same motherfucking miserable day over and over again, right? I mean, shit. It's not that fucking complicated to me, but, you know, like, once I found the idea of personal development, I was like, holy shit, this shit really works. I'm like, what the fuck?
I did think about, like, we'll probably have to have, like, an episode just kind of, like, timelining that, because it's just so good. Like, looking back on how it came into our life and what has just grown from there has been super cool.
Yeah, because before I found, basically, multi-level marketing introduced me into personal development, and I was like, damn, this shit is good. This shit makes sense. Because I hated education. Because I had a construct or an idea of education being as public schooling and college and whatever else. Well, that's not true at all. They just fucking brainwashed me into thinking that. And thankfully, I got involved with people that like could think differently and could think for themselves. And they were like, whoa, 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 you know, read this, not that. Fucking listen to this, not that. And I was like, damn, dude, there's a whole nother world out here. Like, fucking, I was walking down this path of fucking misery and irritation and anxiety and, you know, and a lot of those things that carry over to the other path, right?
Yeah, they don't just go away.
Yeah, so, but I'm like, wow, this is fucking way better. And the people are better. Like, people are awesome. Jesus. Like, I love all the fucking multi-level marketing people. Like, shout out to Trace. He just sent me a book this week. Like, you know, he doesn't know me. Like, he just fucking sent me a book. He was like, hey, man, check out this book. And I was like, fuck yeah, I'll read a book. I don't care. And so he sent it to me. I was like, dope.
Yeah, the people are different for sure.
Yeah, the people are just different. And there's some people that are tryhards in multi-level marketing that just aren't, that are inauthentic. And myself including, into that inauthentic multi-level marketing side of things. But a lot of people that are involved in that, the really successful ones, are really genuine. So,
for sure.
You know, Trace is a genuine dude. Trace will do really good in multi-level marketing. I can guarantee you. So, yeah. But there's a lot of things, for instance, that he has to overcome too, that where he's at. And because multi-level marketing stretches the shit out of you.
Yep.
Yup. We'll talk more about that in a different fucking podcast.
But again, I think about, like, without that experience in our life, we would not be here.
Oh, 100%.
Like, because we're stretching ourselves now because we've, like, we'll get into it.
We've already stretched ourselves enough to get to this point because of that.
Right.
Yeah, so... But I'm excited. I mean, even if no one listens to this shit, I don't care. I'll still do it for myself. Like, I'm a selfish dick at the end of the day. That's why we don't have kids at this point, because, like, I don't want to have kids. I'm too selfish at this point in my life.
And let me just say, so that we're all clear in the hot communication, like, I'm right there with him. So we're on the same page with that, so. Yeah.
So, I don't know. I just think things are going really well, and I just want to offer this stuff to other people that are interested. And if you're not interested, don't listen to it. If you don't like my swearing, don't listen to it. If you don't like my abrasiveness, don't listen to it. And yeah. Mm-hmm. And if you do, listen to it. So
I'm sure they all appreciate your permission.
Yeah. Well, you know, I'm just whatever. Fuck it.
I think we're gonna have I don't think we're at that point, but I think eventually we're gonna be at a point when we have quote unquote haters that listen just because they don't like, which is interesting too.
Yeah, I don't understand that, but I understand what he's saying, but I don't understand like the idea of that. So I understand the idea of that. I just don't understand the conceptualization of that. Whatever. So, I don't know. I think that's it for me. I'm all wrapped up. So,
cool.
See you fuckers.
Thanks for listening.
Well, let's go over the fucking concepts real quick again. Conclusion. I like the conclusion.
You do. I was just thinking you like to summarize.
Yeah, I like to summarize and conclude things because I like to go over like the main points. I do this in like communication with basically anybody and everybody that I deal with. I'm like, okay, so you know, if they tell me to do something, I repeat it. Yeah, these are the things we talked about. You know, so recap. If you want to do big shit, you have to be willing to grow. It's that simple.
And that means doing uncomfortable things.
Yeah. So, for instance, my example, I'm allowing her to post, take excerpts or quotes or whatever out of these videos and post them on the page, which makes me feel very uncomfortable because I'm at the end of the day like, who the fuck am I to be saying this shit or whatever else, and that's part of the game though. So what else did we talk about?
Things are simple, not easy, but again, it just comes to like making a choice to do the things that are. Yeah,
and check out, dude. If you don't want to do it with your significant other, because that's a whole nother level. Do it to yourself in the mirror. Like, look and stare yourself eye. Like, time yourself 2 minutes. Like, you know, put a little alarm on or whatever else. And don't let your eyes look away. I fucking dare you. Like,
and let us know how it goes.
That takes balls. Yeah, and let us know how it goes because I'd be really interested into it. I'm thankful for my for where I'm at in the game, but I recognize that I have so much further to go at this point in my life. So, what are some recaps?
Being blissfully dissatisfied.
Oh, yeah.
So, like the striving of the next level or the next goal, but also being content.
Yeah.
With where you are, or like grateful for what you have and not overlooking that, I guess.
Yeah, which is something I need to work on personally, is being more grateful for what I have. So, because I'm always a what's next type of person, which my coach is always like, just, you know, be in the now and celebrate your wins and, you know, shit like that. But I'm really trying, coach. Yeah, that's for the most part it.
Yep.
So, most part it.
I didn't even notice that. All right, thank you for being here.
And it's 222 right now. If you don't know about angel numbers, look them up.
Thank you for listening. Let us know if you do decide to do the looking in your own eyes, or if you do venture out and do it with somebody else. Let us know how that goes too.
Yeah, and give us a like on YouTube. Go over to Podcast Player. You can listen to the audio there.
Yeah, we also have our Facebook page up and running and our Instagram. So, Awakening Warriors Podcast.
Give us a like, follow us if you're interested. If you're not, fuck off. And if that's it, folks.
See you next time.